Hello, I'm Jen Lynn Roberts with Present Path Tarot. I offer down-to-earth readings with humor and compassion, and I love to teach the cards. And today we're going to talk about the element of balance in the cards, especially the Major Arcana. So much is happening right now that brings up the turmoil in the world, the COVID situation globally. There's been a lot of grief and loss, and a lot of us having to rein in ourselves. And obviously, right now in the US, we're having a lot of issues with balance. So I want us to think tonight or today about how we can instill more balance into our own lives by considering them through the lens of tarot. So we begin the Major Arcana with the Fool card, who's out of balance because they're a young person setting out on their adventure for the first time, and they have their dog with them and their little bag, but they're also about to step off a cliff. They don't know what's to come next. So they don't really represent that, but they're given the gift of the two figures that give them their guidance along the way, the Magician and the High Priestess. Now, these two figures represent balance. She has two pillars on either side of her, one light and one dark, and the Magician has the four elements in balance. He has the four characteristics of the Minor Arcana, the sword, pentacles, cups, and wands, represented on his table, and his life is in balance. So one way I think of the cards as bringing a sense of balance to my life is I consider, how's my intellect with my swords? How's my mind with meditation? How's my heart with my emotional expression? How's my expression through art? How is my energy? Am I exercising? Am I moving towards that which I desire and feel excited about? Or am I in a state of needing to really ground down into my pentacles, eating right, and having the earth experience of building up resources? So you want to have these four balance elements in your life happening in order to be a totem of balance in your life. The High Priestess is more of the secretive internal balance of the subconscious and the consciousness combined. She's intuition, and when you step into life, you want to make sure that you are also accessing your more mysterious gifts with balance. I'd say that part of that is also saying if you're stepping into a field of magic, that you're honoring traditions in some way and making sure you're going at a pace that is safe for you energetically. So then the next element of balance, I would say, is presented. We have the chaos of the Empress, followed by the stability of the Emperor, the father figure. He has this chair with two rams on either side. And this character is trying to add stability in a very political fashion of trying to make sure everyone is equally served in the community. Everyone is getting their basic needs met. And sometimes that means some sacrifice to one group in order to make sure another is fed, or some, shifting of how the resources are functioning in their society. Right after him is a very similar card in the fact that we have a red and white cloaked person. And this character is the Hierophant, who is about the system itself. Now, right now, we have a situation where the last year, the Hierophant has been on its head. We've been questioning the systems that we have around us. We've been questioning our government. Both sides have been. And we've been asking for change in our most base structure of our cultural systems and of our government systems. That makes the Hierophant reverse, but here's the thing. Anarchy doesn't exist because sooner or later the Hierophant will come back into play and will right itself and will have a system to be followed again. What do we want that to look like is the question. And so both of these have a similar message in this aspect. Different in some others. This person even has the Hierophant, represented by a sort of pope, has a set of two keys that are crossing each other, as well as two stewards on either side of them. So very much with two pillars, very balanced image, a lot of messaging of like structure, balance, containment of things. The next card, every card is balance in the tarot, is how do we remain balanced in our relationships? So we have the masculine and feminine, the yin and yang, which is also representing our own wholeness of self. So we're outside of relationships. How can you access your wholeness, your yin and your yang that you have within you, your divine feminine, your divine masculine, both interacting and functioning? Super important. And when we get to do, we have this angel holding equal hands over both sides, and he has a burning flame, a bush, a tree on fire behind him, while she has the tree of life behind her, to me representing both wands and pentacles, which wands are phallus, pentacles are yoni, and also representing kind of creation and destruction, right? That we need both of these things in order to find balance. And so even though it's been a really hard year with so much destruction happening, so much change, we are moving toward a new state of creation. The fire, the forest burns, and then the next few years it comes back to life, and good things can happen from that. Obviously, we don't want too much more turmoil, I feel personally, because it's scary. Also, in the sense of creation, I'd like to talk about the scary shadow side of creation. If you see the film Annihilation, it's a very interesting feminine story, and the alien monster in it is this extreme creation, this DNA that's constantly transforming and out of control, sort of. So thinking about the scary side of creation as well, and the light side of destruction, is a way for us to also find balance in our lives by considering the shadow sides of both things, which in destruction's case, the shadow side can be also the benefit of it. The next card, boom, balance, we have is the Chariot. And the Chariot, he has two horses, in this case two sphinxes, who are pulling his chariot forward. Both are black and white, so they have found their balance between their shadow and light. And there's an equal city on both sides as well, flanking him. This character is representing moving forward and feeling that you have a strong reputation in yourself, and that you are representing a balanced, healthy state of mind as you move forward in your goals, right? So, yeah, there's even, I just noticed this actually. Oh, I love these little moments. So there's a little thing here, this little red dot that looks like a spinning top, which is obviously another symbol of balance, if that's what it is, which I have to look it up. Skipping a few cards ahead to not do all the cards, we have the Wheel of Fortune, which is about balance in a more weighted way. So instead of it being things flanking either side, we again have the four elements like the Magician. And this is a midway point in the card. So the Magician is 1, this is 10, and we're going to see these four elements again in 21. So the final card. So this is a midpoint. And in that midpoint, it's when you're up, when you're down, when you're only halfway up, you're neither up nor down. And so this is the turning of fortune and fate, right? The spinning of the wheel. And this is also representative of Dhamma, the Buddhist concept of balance, in a sense of the wheel of Dhamma is the practice gets you there. The practice finds balance within, from my understanding of it. So, yeah, Wheel of Fortune. We also have on top, we have a Sphinx with a black and white hat on top that's almost identical to the Chariot card's Sphinx. And the Devil on the bottom with a snake here. So there's kind of, to me, there's also that sort of, the Sphinx and Devil might balance each other in a sort of good and evil, with the snake of Eden as a metaphor along with that. Another obvious balance one is the Scales of Justice. Again, two pillars on either side. And also holding the Scales of Justice, and has two lines going down the red jacket that is similar to both the Emperor and the Hierophant in the red and white coloring, and is also similar to the red and white that the Magician is wearing. So we have a lot of red and white in our balance cards, which I would love to know more about why that is the exact coloring that A.E. Waite and Pamela Coleman Smith chose, but I feel like it has to do with that purity and blood, could be. I wonder what the color theories of early 1900s was. So obviously Justice card is about the scales of balance of justice. Then we have the Hanged Man, who's similar in that way to the Wheel of Fortune in that it's more of a pendulumous kind of balance, and he's hanging in balance. So there's a releasing and letting go into accepting what is. And that's a big part of what COVID year has brought for us, this 2020 experience behind us and still in it, is having to accept what is and surrender and sacrifice something to a greater good cause, to allow in a spiritual experience. And so in this case, it's letting go of trying to control everything. You know, if the Hierophant is tumbling, we don't have full control over it during the tumble, but we can begin to ponder on what spiritually we collectively desire and sit in quietude with ourselves and sit in quietude of even listening to each other without reaction in order to find that sense of what we're going to bring forward when we're ready to move back into action. But this is a card that happens during a limbo of inaction, which we're greatly in right now with with COVID. A couple cards ahead, only actually skipping, so we're going over the Death card, which doesn't really feel like balance, but it is a part of life and death, right? Is a circle of balance. We have instead here the Temperance card next. So we have, this is the integration of two opposites. So with shadow work in particular, which is a balance act, we are taking the light of something and acknowledging and accepting the dark of it and integrating them together to allow them to be whole again. There's a great mythos called the feminine descent myth. And that's the story of, through many years, thousands of years probably, the goddess was decimated. First she was, first she was raped, and then, oh no, she wanted it, and then she became this Jezebel figure until we come down into this state where the female has split into her light self and her dark self, nun and whore, evil villain on one side and precious golden queen on the other, and neither one is real. They're both extremes. This Temperance card is about a feminine descent myth where a female goes down into hell in some way and then meets her evil self and either is consumed by that evil self, as in Alien 4, Alien 3 series, or Last Unicorn, she becomes a human, and then comes out the other side a whole female again. That's a great metaphor for the Temperance card. It's accepting and acknowledging both sides of yourself fully in order to become whole. And it's integrating your young self with your new self. And this is a big part of the transformation we might have to go through as a culture when we integrate into a new phase of being together. Interestingly, the next card is the Devil card, and that card is also really good at balance representations because you have the Lovers card represented here again with two people on either side, almost identical there. And you also have both of them are equally chained, but the chains around them are loose. They could choose to take them off. The Devil also has wings, as more like bat-like wings, as with the Lovers card has an angel overhead. And the Devil also is doing as above, so below, like the Magician card is doing with the hand gestures, but with a more sort of Vulcan hand on top, and holding a wand of passion desire on the bottom, while the Magician is holding a scepter up top, pointing toward the heavens, and his hand is reaching for the earth. Pointing to the earth. So it's interesting that in order to overcome our attachments, we also have to find a balanced life in some way. The next card of the Major Arcana related to balance is the Star card. After the hero has vanquished their tower, which I will say the tower also has 2 people falling, flanking the tower, so there is some level of balance there too in the messaging. But 3 windows, and there's a lot of chaos going on in it. We have the Star card where she's pouring water onto the land and water into the lake, similar to the Temperance card with 1 foot in the water and 1 foot on the land. So there's that balance between the emotional, spiritual, and the, let's say, grounded, realistic, practical. So she is manifesting her wishes, and in a sense, this would be pouring the water into the lake or pond, would be sort of the dreaming and the whimsy creation, the manifesting with your mind and wishing things. And pouring the water on the earth is that you have to do some legwork to get your dreams. They don't just happen. You have to, you have to do some practical watering of the land in order to get things to grow. And yeah, so we have a 7-pointed star in many cards. This is actually an 8-pointed star, which, and also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 8-pointed stars. Anybody into numerology might take an interest in that. The Moon card also has balance in it, and this is about the subconscious sort of balance, similar to the High Priestess, where the High Priestess is also about the subconscious, the underworld of mentality, the intuitive. So is the Moon card. And in this case, we have a wild dog teaching a tame dog to be wild again. And that's part of that integration of wholeness of self as well that Temperance card is presenting. But in this case, it's about, I don't know, I feel allowing yourself to have both your animal and your civilized halves. And in the background, we have 2 towers that represent that kind of civilization groundedness that you kind of need to rely on if you're going to step into your more wild self. You need to have some sort of base, some sort of set and setting, as it were, to, feel secure as you go into the wild, which is why a lot of people go into their subconscious practices through shamanic practices where they have a guardian or guide with them to support them as they go into, another vision quest of some kind, or having a therapist to take you along on your mental journey. It's really important, and in a sense, that's what the 2 dogs are about, I think, is having a guardian or guide with you as you access some of the darkness you need to face. And then finally, we have the World card. The World card, again, is represented with the 4 elements. So we now have, this is reflected 3 times in the Major Arcana. We have the Magician starting things out with the balance of the 4 elements. And then we have the World card representing kind of the balance of those 4 elements with the chaos of fortune and fate. And then we have the wholeness of another circle as the Wheel of Fortune's represented, but now it's a circle of Ouroboros, of a snake eating its tail, and that sort of completion of a cycle has happened. So we have gone through the phases of our journey, and we've come to a place where things are actually in balance. We have completed the Hierophant tumbling has righted itself, and things are now complete and good as they are. But being a completion with an Ouroboros is also the story that, of course, we're going to have a sequel to this movie, and things never really do complete, and it will come around again. In the Minor Arcana, of course, there's tons of balance represented as well. I would say that, of course, the 2s are the most obvious in that because they're 2. And anytime you see a 2, that's a reference of balance as well. But you can look through the cards and see things like the 10 of Cups, which is an abundance card. You have 2 parents and 2 children in this card. And look in your own deck. Notice in your own deck where you see references to balance. I would say that the majority of these balance messages are in the Major Arcana because they're trying to present the different ways we can access balance in our mythic journey, in our hero's quest that is our life, on a more archetypal, Jungian, psychological scale. How can we each individually and collectively find balance? So I hope this is helpful for you today to think about balance in your life through this lens of the cards, and I hope this helps you engage with the cards more. Also keep an eye out in movies for when the screen is balanced, to notice what that messaging might be about. Wes Anderson loves to do this with his architecture and scenes. And play with this concept of where you see messages of balance being subtly hinted at in any imagery that is artistically created. Thank you for listening today. I would love to give you a reading if you feel like your life is a little out of balance right now. And I also would love to teach you the cards if you are engaged by this. Please go to presentpathtarot.com. Please subscribe and like, and get your notifications so you can see my next videos. Thank you very much and have a lovely day.